Hello, this is the fourth Sunday of Easter, and on this Sunday, every year, the Church asks us to pray for vocations to the priesthood, and also for priests in the world. It's a strange time that we live in at the moment. The dynamic of Christian life, of church life, of priestly life, has all been thrown in the air. And in spite of all the distress that's caused, and in spite of all the inconvenience that's caused, I really do think that good is going to come from it. In fact, anything that has God's hand in it, which is everything, if allowed to, good will pour from it. And one thing I have discovered myself is that in this time, this extraordinary time, that we've been allowed to see what the bread and butter of the priestly life is, of Christian life is, but particularly of priestly life. Our churches are closed. There are no congregations. There are no kids at school. Can't go into the prison to see the prisoners. Hospital visiting has been reduced to the last rites. There are no doors to knock on. Many of the outward pastoral activities in which a priest would engage and understand himself have been removed. So what's left? What is this bread and butter? Well, clearly, obviously, most of all, is the celebration of the Mass. And it's prayer and it's study, so that the priest can fill his mind with holy things, can ponder on those holy things, and proclaim those holy things. That he prays as a father for his family, that he remembers everyone in his heart and brings them to God. Many of the people here who watch this, I know, but many of the people who watch this I've never met, and yet you are in my prayers. One day we'll meet on the other side of the door of death. And when the priest comes to celebrate his Mass day by day, and if it's a Mass in private, we are able to put Mass on Twitter, I think, every day, but the fathers still say their own Masses. And when you come to say those Masses, you can really take your time now. And the priest can remember the living and the dead. And especially when the priest comes to make his Holy Communion, he does so for everybody. And that is a thing that I've discovered only because of the trouble we have now. Only because I can't give people communion, which is a joyful thing. I've come to feel is the best word. I've understood it perhaps, but now I feel it effectively, that when I receive communion, it's to me and through me to my parishioners, my friends, people in need, the people I minister to, all of you. It comes through me to you. And I've felt that very much at Mass. Again, going back to the bread and butter, with prayer, you go into church to pray, and you're very conscious of not being alone. I don't mean just with my community meditations, but all those who gather around the tabernacle, around the Lord, the Mother of God, the apostles, the saints, the holy angels, the people who've already passed through the door of death, conscious of their presence, and conscious, especially at the celebration of Mass, of the living and the dead. Most of our prayer goes on in our room. I spend most of my time in my room praying or reading or looking after a poorly dog at the moment. And it's brought about an understanding of a very deep peace. A peace I'd never known before, actually. It's a peace which you have to be away from the world to find. It's not going to leave you there, because as priests working in the city centre, we will go out. But we go out with the Lord in our mind and the Lord in our hearts. It's to find the love again. It's to find the first relationship again. It's for me to gaze into his eyes and him to gaze into my eyes. And in that peace is everything. And then the priest will share that peace. When we pray then for vocations to the priesthood, we're praying that more and more men will find that one burning desire, that overwhelming desire to know God and to be near God and to share what they have through the sacraments with God's holy people. Prayers for vocations can be to all sorts of vocations, contemplative and active, and people have a bit of the both of those types of life. It's God's business who he chooses and how he chooses them. But what he's going to do is make that priest more and more like Christ. Because when the priest speaks, ministers, he doesn't do so in his own voice. He does so in the voice of the Good Shepherd. You see, I am not the Good Shepherd. They are not my sheep. Jesus is the Good Shepherd, and they are his sheep. And they recognize his voice. They don't recognize my voice, they recognize the voice of the Lord, and they'll run towards him. So a priest's work then is to be humble enough not to bring the spotlight to himself, just to be a priest. And it might be that some of the best priests who are able to articulate that are the ones that people pay no attention to. They just get on with the job. The reward and the results will be seen not in this world, but only in heaven. So pray for priests. Pray for the priests that you know, living and dead. Ask Our Lady to enfold them and to protect them. But first of all, pray that their mind and their hearts will be set upon the Lord and his kingdom, and then everything else will be given as well. God bless, and may God's holy angels surround you this day and be your consolation, your guides to the heavenly kingdom.